Hello, I'm Brian Fitzgerald, the Golf Doctor, and today I'm going to show you some more common putting mistakes. It's a gorgeous day. It's early in the morning here at Lang Lang Golf Club. The roos are out. Hang on, did I just say the roos are out? Just over my shoulder there, you'll see there's some kangaroos out here. I love being here. They're just amazing animals, and I've grown up with them all my life, and I never get tired of seeing them. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. We're going to deal with some more common putting tips following on from last week's video. So one of the common putting mistakes I see is people have the wrong picture in their head of what putting really is. I see a lot of people trying to take the putter straight back and straight through. And in taking the putter straight back and straight through, what I'm seeing is a little bit of this sort of movement. Really, the only way we can get the putter going straight back and through is if our body and spine angle is like that, a bit like Michelle Wee. Realistically, our spine is slightly tilted, so we do tend to putt on an arc, and everyone sees that as being a problem. I've been a golf pro for 36 years. I've never seen anyone go straight back and through, and I've got some devices that I test with. I've never seen it even come close. 2 to 3 degrees in that range is about as straight as I've ever seen anyone. We don't really need straight back and through. It's a good idea and the principle of it is good, but we don't have to. The putter is designed to rotate, and there are putters that rotate more and less, and we can talk about that in a future putter fitting video. But every putter rotates. Even the square, the straight back and through style putter, it still rotates a little. So we just have to utilize it and get comfortable in the fact that, okay, the putter is going to rotate. The most important thing though is when we get the club face back to the point where the club hits the ball, we want that to be square. So having the least amount of club face rotation is probably a good idea for some people. My putting stroke has a reasonably high rotation, and I used to think that was bad. I'm now comfortable with it, and since I got comfortable with it, I'm putting the best I've ever putted. So we just got to start to be a bit more comfortable in what we do. Stop worrying about whether the putter rotates. Try and get the putter square at impact, because it doesn't really matter where it is at any point in the swing other than impact. And if we can get our club face returning as square as we can to impact, that's going to help us hit the ball in the direction we want to go. And if we choose the right direction at the right speed, we've got every chance of getting the ball in the hole. So just let the putter rotate. Don't try and manipulate. Keep your hands soft. Just swing the putter back and through. You'll find it just rotates nicely by itself. And I think if you can start to get comfortable with that and forget the straight back and through, you're going to start to get a lot better. The other thing I think people make the mistake of when they putt is they have unrealistic expectations. We see the best players in the world play on the TVs every weekend. And of course, come Sunday night, or as we watch it in Melbourne, Monday morning, when we get the late Sunday afternoon coverage of tournaments in the US, we see putts going in from left, right and centre. And not only do we see that, we see the director's cut of that. So we're seeing the freaks at their freakiest, to put it another way. So we think that every golf pro in the world always knocks the ball in from 15 feet. The reality is it's about 20%. So the scariest stat for me is the fact that the average club golfer from 15 feet, 3 putts 51% of the time. So we're about 15 feet here. So if we can just learn to 2 putt from 15 feet, we're going to be ahead of most of the other people that we play with, or certainly a good percentage of them. So don't be trying to get the ball in the hole. That's not to say that you don't try to get it in, but don't have the expectation of getting the ball in the hole. Get the ball near the hole, knock it in, move on. Don't think, oh, this is a 15-footer, I've got to make this. Because in trying to make it, you may hit it a little firmly and hit it outside that comfortable range for your second putt, and that's when you're going to 3-putt. So we just need to stop those 3 putting. So just some ideal things for you is that from 3 feet, the best players in the world are at 99 point something. So they don't miss too often from 3 feet. From 8 feet, it's 50%. They get one, they miss one. They get one, they miss one. That's on average, not the best putter in the world, but the collection of best putters in the world from 8 feet there are around about the 50%. So if the best players only get one and miss one from 8 feet, don't be so hard on yourself. If you can get to 30%, that's probably a pretty good average. So I would just have more realistic expectations. Certainly just forget trying to 1 putt, get the ball near the hole with your first putt, and 2 putt as many as you can. Another common mistake I see is people spend a lot of time reading the green, and that's really important. I'm not devaluing that in any way, but they start with, let's read the green, let's look at our start line, and then let's think about speed. I think we need to do it in a different order, because the line that you pick depends on the speed. So if I aim this a couple of holes to the right of where the hole is now, and I hit that pretty firm, and that ball went in. So if I hit a little bit softer and aim it a little bit more to the right, that ball also went in. But 2 successful putts, but I did them differently. Different line, different speed. The thing that's the most important thing about putting is speed. If you can start with what speed you want to hit, that then determines how much break there is going to be on a green, and then you can trace back to your starting line, and then you aim your starting line. If we do it that way, I think you're going to be more successful on the putting green. Another common mistake I see is that there is this belief that you're either born a good putter or you're born a bad putter. And if you're born a bad putter, there's not much you can do about it. You've got to stick with that for the rest of your life. That was certainly the impression that I had when I was younger. Even when I was playing on tour, I was a notoriously bad putter. And I had this belief that really doesn't matter what I do. And I consulted many, many coaches. I tried to get help as much as I could. No one really was able to help me. And it was only years later that when I stopped playing and started coaching that I realised what I was doing wrong. So I'm now a really good putter. I'm not just an average putter, I'm a good putter. So I have turned it around. So just because you're putting badly now doesn't mean to say that you have to put up with bad putting. I was also told when I was younger that there are no real putting mechanics, there's no basics. Horrible advice. And it took me a long time to work out that that was horrible advice. Of course there are putting mechanics. There are things that you should do and there are things that you shouldn't do. And once we establish those fundamentals and we get good fundamentals, the rest of the putting stroke is a lot easier. So this leads into the next point, and I think this is the critical factor. If you're born a bad putter or you're born a good putter, the thing that will really make the difference to you is practice. And I just don't see many people practicing their putting. Usually at the golf range, especially on the weekend, it's so busy that there is a wait, and they give you a raffle ticket and they call out your number when there's a range bay free. Most people are sitting around on the furniture just waiting for their number to be called. They should be out on the putting green doing a little bit of practice. So Jason Day practices probably as much as anyone on the skill of putting. It's not an accident that he's a good putter. He's working 15 to 20 hours a week on the skill of putting alone. The average tour player spends 10 to 15 hours a week on the skill of putting. The average college golfer in the US is spending between 5 and 10 hours on the skill of putting. The average club champion spends 1 to 3 hours a week on their putting. And the average club member spends about 10 minutes, and that's made up of playing twice a week, and they have 5 minutes of whatever it's called before they tee off. I wouldn't call it putting practice. They're usually having a chat, and there's not too much practice going on. They sort of get a feel for the speed of the greens, and that's about it. And then they get out and play, and they whinge and moan after the round on how many putts they missed. Well, if you don't practice it, how could you possibly be good at it? And there are some really good training drills that you can do during the week, a lot of which you can do on the carpet. There's just so many different ways of doing it, and I'll put a link to a video up there of some training games that I've used in the past, and it'll give you some ideas on how to practice your putting. But if you could spend 15 minutes twice a week, the beauty of this is it can be done at home on the carpet or a putting mat. You can go and get to the golf course earlier and do a little bit of practice before you putt, before you play. Not 5 minutes, but do 15 minutes. And work on the short putts and then your distance control. That's certainly going to put you in a better mindset. It's going to give you a better chance of hitting the ground running when you get out on the golf course and having that best score. So start to implement a bit of a practice program. I've got a lot more things to do on putting over coming months, so there'll be plenty of ideas here. But just start practicing your putting. It will really pay dividends more than any other aspect of golf if you can just work on your putting. In fact, I talked to Colin Swat and Jason Day's coach at a coaching summit last year. And I asked him, if the average golfer didn't change anything and they just went out and spent more time on the putting green, would that improve them? And he said, absolutely. It's not even about the technique. Obviously, a better technique will help. But if you just get out there and practice your putting and spend some time on the greens, you will definitely get better at the skill of putting. That means you're going to have lower golf scores. And the other common mistake I see people make with putting is they putt badly, so they go into a golf shop and they go and buy a new putter. And usually that works for the first little bit. Hardly anyone ever gets fitted for a putter. And all of my putting woes that I had in my younger days were all stemming from the fact that I had a bad putter. It wasn't a bad putter, it was a very good putter, but the putter did not suit me in its makeup. It was way too long. It was a standard lie, I needed an upright lie. The moment I shortened my putter and got my putter more upright, I started holing putts. Everything improved from that point. So sometimes if you're putting badly, it may not be you, it may not be your technique, it could very well be the putter. So getting your putter fitted is one of the best things you can possibly do. In fact, if you took an accounting point of view, which club in the bag do you hit the most? It will be the putter. So you should spend the most on that putter. And there are some wonderful putters around that you can get fitted these days. I know Mizuno have launched the M-Craft putters, and if you're lucky enough to live in Australia, you can get them bent, upright, flat, whatever you need. But certainly most putters can come in various lengths. Other companies do lie angles, but some of the companies, you've got to send them across to the US to get altered, and that can take up to 3 months, which is not an ideal situation. But have a look around, get fitted, and it will definitely help you in your endeavour to be more consistent at putting. And of course, the other thing that I see a lot of people do, and a mistake they make when they putt, is they just think far too much. They're standing over the ball and they're thinking about, okay, where's my start point? What length of swing do I need? What speed do I need? I've got to make sure I try and roll the club face open because I'm usually take it back shut. There's so many thoughts going on in their head. How can they possibly get that ball into the hole? I'm guilty of it in the past. You see it all the time. The longer someone stands over that putt, the more thoughts. You imagine the thought bubbles just jumping out of someone's head. They're standing over it and there's a thought bubble going there and another one there and another one there. It takes them forever to hit the putt. So I've got a good way of trying to help you with that. And it's called Quiet Eye. So a lady, Joan Vickers, I think she's from the University of Calgary in Canada, and she did a study on something called Quiet Eye. And what you have to do is try and focus as you're standing over the putt. You want to focus on a specific dimple. And you try and clear your mind of all thoughts. You have a nice light grip. And you just basically using a laser-like focus on that dimple. So what I'm going to do here, I'll do it in this camera. I'm going to put a dimple and a little red dimple on the golf ball. Just something for me to look at. So there it is, little dimple. So I'm going to pop this on the ground. And you put it on top so you can see it. We'll get rid of these out of the way. So you go through your process, you line it up, you work on your speed, as I said, read the green, organise your starting point. So, you know, the starting point for this putt is going to be about 2 balls to the right of this little bit of grass that I see there. So once I've established that, I take my setup and I'm just going to stare with laser-like precision at that dot. And that went in. So the hardest thing I find, and I'll be perfectly honest, when I go out in the golf course and do it, sometimes I forget. And it's pretty easy to do. You have one thought. All you have to do is stare at the dot. You get over it and you think, oh, hang on, I've hit the putt, I forgot to stare at the dot. So it's not easy. Creating a new habit takes a little bit of time. But you just stand over it. You really just stare at that dot. Keep your mind quiet. And then you go through and you hit the putt. So there's a number of things there that you can do, and you can try and fix those common mistakes. There's plenty more, but these are the most common ones that I see. So I would be focusing on some of these things as you get the opportunity, and one at a time, tick it off the list, go on to the next thing, tick it off the list, go on to the next thing, tick it on the list. By all means, go and get your putter fitted. It's really important that you do that. It's probably more important than anything else. Very, very important. So I encourage you to do that. And if you want to improve your short putting, you can click the video that's on the screen there, and it's going to really help you in your short putting. There's a whole series of tips that I've created on how to do that. Thank you for letting me help you with your golf. I'm Brian Fitzgerald, the Golf Doctor, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.